Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This is taken from the public beta environment, PBE server, and we have some more footage from set 7.5 from before it releases. This is taken from a double-up game that I am playing together with Cymbal. I've been enjoying the double-up games quite a bit more than the solo games, so there's a decent chance I'll have more of these for set 7.5. But in this game, we're going to be taking a look at one of the other new traits that's been added here in set 7.5, and that is the Darkflight trait. So this is one of the creative new traits that they've added. This one may end up being a little bit tricky to balance, but it is one of the new ones that's added. Basically, it is a trait where you sacrifice one of your units, and in exchange, all of the Darkflight units gain an item for free. They get whatever unit is on the sacrificed item for free. Now, if there's multiple items on the sacrificed unit, then it gets one of them randomly. But since you're sacrificing one of your units, it's a little bit silly to put more than one unit on them. This was done after a really big patch that was put on PBE that was at the start of the second week of the beta environment. And for whatever reason, Darkflight, I guess, was a little bit too underpowered. The developers decided that they would go ahead and put a whole bunch of buffs to the Darkflight trait in this patch. And so I decided that in this game, I wanted to just try it out. I was hoping that I would get an opener that worked for this trait and hoping that I could play into it. And that's what I end up doing here. I'm going to force it to a certain extent in this game because, again, I'm trying to test out this trait. But in this particular patch version, the Darkflight was quite overpowered, which is not a surprise because they had like 3 different buffs to Rengar and like 5 different buffs to Aphelios and 3 different buffs to Swain. And it turns out if you buff every single unit in the comp, then it ends up being quite strong afterwards. And that's kind of what we're going to end up seeing here. The other thing I was thinking I might be able to play Mirage in this game. I believe this is a duelist Mirage. And I was kind of going in that direction as well. And I was planning on like pivoting into one or the other. There is some commonality between the two of them because both Mirage boards and Darkflight boards both like to play Cavalier frontline. So there is some overlap between the two of them. I was planning on like picking one of them and then pivoting into the other. But I think that I saw that there were like 2 or 3 other people all playing Mirage, and I didn't want to conflict with that. All right, so I'm going to take Devastating Charge for my initial augment choice here. That also synergizes well, and it also synergizes well with anyone who's playing a Cavalier frontline. It's a bit more of an early game setup than a late game setup, unless I'm able to get a Cavalier emblem and go into something like Yasuo. But it does mean that I'm going to do a little bit of extra damage here. And with me getting this Aphelios in my shop and having a Rel out of the items that popped up, I was like, you know what? I probably can go ahead and look to play into the Darkflight trait just right here from the beginning of the game. So I'm going to try to toss some items on Leona and then figure out what I'm going to do with these other items. I also have to think about what unit I would want to sacrifice and what item I might potentially want to make out of them. So I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. And ultimately I decide I don't want to sacrifice any units because I don't really have an item that they would gain just yet. And in order to get the benefit on my Darkflight units, I'd have to sacrifice either Leona or Sejuani, and they're both 2-star units. I think it's better just to play those units for the time being, as opposed to having one of them die at the start of combat, and then give my Darkflight units an extra item. My Darkflight units are actually not very strong. I have a 1-star Rel that came out of my augment and a 1-star Aphelios. It's actually my non-Darkflight units that are the strong ones here. All right, I'm going to pop over to Cymbal's board. Cymbal has taken preparation, so he's going to be trying to get preparation stacks on his units, and he is going to end up playing into kind of a standard mage's board. So he's going to be looking to go, I believe, long-term into the Mage Dragon, Sohm, who is actually kind of like Lagoon plus Mage, and that's the direction he's going to be heading in. All right, well, while we've got a minute here, let me go ahead and read the official description for this trait for Darkflight. The official description is the unit in the Darkflight Hex, which is right in the center of the board. Unit in the Darkflight Hex is sacrificed at the start of combat, grants a copy of a random item they have to each Darkflight champion, and bonus health to each. So As you get more ranks in the Darkflight trait, you gain additional health. That's the extra benefit right now. I don't know if you actually have to sacrifice a unit to get the bonus health. It looks like you do, because right now Aphelios clearly is not getting bonus health. So when the unit dies, you get a copy of a random item they're holding, but again, you should really not put more than one item onto the sacrificed unit. And then you also get a health benefit on your units. The health benefit's pretty substantial. Right now, I believe it's right around 700 health at Darkflight 2, and then it goes up from there. There are only 4 Darkflight units in the game, naturally. So that's Aphelios, Rel, Rengar, and Swain. As Swain being a dragon in this set, he counts for 3 ranks in the trait. But as you can imagine, that only gets you to Darkflight 6. So you need to get either get more ranks in the trait from an augment or find emblems for the trait. And it is not an emblem you can make with a spatula. It has to be something that comes out of like a Tome of Traits or off a carousel or something. You would have to get 2 emblems in order to get the benefit. All right, looks like it's 700, or excuse me, looks like it's 600 is the health benefit for Darkflight 2. It was 700 on the cheat sheet that I was looking at. So yeah, I'm just kind of chilling here. I kind of was hoping that I would find an early Rengar in the store. I have not found an early Rengar in the store, unfortunately. And Rengar is kind of the key unit that you usually are playing through in a Darkflight board. Rengar is an assassin. He has really interesting targeting, which I'll talk more about when we get there. He focuses the unit with the lowest armor on the enemy team. He was super broken when the PBE first came out, but has eaten an awful lot of nerfs since then. So he's, I don't know, somewhere in the middle, not too overpowered, not too weak, something like that. So really, he's the key unit to find. It's like if you have the Rengar pop out, you want to be thinking about playing Darkflight. If you don't have Rengar pop out, it's probably not a trait that you should necessarily be looking to go into. Much like how if an Olaf pops out of an early orb or augment, that might be, hey, I'm going to play Scale Scorn, or I'm going to play, into, well, Olaf in this game. Otherwise, you're typically not looking to play into that unit. All right, in any case, though, so I am going to be last pick on the carousel here. Cymbal was able to get slightly earlier carousel priority, and I'm going to go ahead and take this Chain Vest. And that's because I can combine it with the bow on my bench, and I can make Titan's Resolve. And that's because this is one of the very best items that you can use for the Darkflight bonus. By the way, here I'm going to get the option to send an item to Cymbal. Let's see what he wants. I think he just takes the gold here, but I can't remember what. Oh, no, he actually wanted the rod because he is playing kind of a mage's setup there. All right, so I did pre-level back there, so I'm going to be level 5 here. I want to go ahead and have a sacrificial unit. Now, whoever is dying, their traits do apply to the rest of the team. It's just that they disappear. So, for example, by having Braum on the board right now, I will get Guardian trait in play for Leona. So units that are kind of like trait bots can be good ones to play for the sacrificial unit. If there's a unit that has like 3 different traits, but they themselves are not very good, then that can be a great unit to put on the board. All right, so anyway, I've gone ahead and made the Titans, and now we will finally get to see this Darkflight trait in action. So poor Braum is going to die at the start of the fight. He's going to give 600 health for it being Darkflight 2, and he's going to give a Titan's Resolve over to Rel and over to Aphelios. So in terms of itemization, the items that you typically want to get are ones that are going to be good on like all of the Darkflight units. So you've got Rel, who's a frontline tank. You have Aphelios, who's kind of like ranged physical damage, DPS. You have Rengar, who's another physical damage champ, but who's an assassin, who's going to be jumping into the back lines. And then you've also got Swain, who is like tanky plus AP. He's kind of like a drain tank AP unit. For your dragon. So, you wouldn't necessarily want to put something like Infinity Edge on the unit because it's like, well, that's good for, it's going to be, Infinity Edge is like going to be great for Rengar, but it's not going to be too good on Rel. By the way, here I'm just taking the gold drop from the item exchange here in double up mode. Infinity Edge not going to be too good on Rel, not going to be too good on Swain. But like similarly, if you just put like a pure tank item, like if you put like a Warmogs, that's not going to be good on Rengar. That's not going to be good on Aphelios. So you kind of want like these mixed items, and like Titans tends to be quite good because it's very good on Rel. It's very good on Swain. It's okay on Rengar. He generally doesn't take that many hits, but he is a melee damage dealer, and it's passable on Aphelios. So like all of them can use it. at least to some extent. Other items I've heard are pretty good is you can also put Bloodthirster. That's not bad because Bloodthirster obviously is good on AD champions, but it's also decent on tank champions too because they get that shield when they drop to like half health. And remember that Darkflight does give its units additional max HP. So that has some natural synergy with Bloodthirster. Also, Hand of Justice is pretty good because Hand of Justice can be used by physical damage dealers, magic damage dealers. To some extent, you could do something like Rage Blade. I've heard people say that sometimes something that's like a Locket or a Chalice can be okay, or a Zeke's, but I don't think they're quite as good options. So Titan seems to be pretty good. I had the option to make one early, and in fact, Darkflight's actually kind of a good early game trait in that regard. As you see us win this round here, it's a very close round. It's actually quite good in that regard because early in the game, you don't have a lot of items. And when you don't have a whole lot of items, getting like multiple copies of a completed item is quite strong. Because like I only have 1 Titans, but like 2 units are getting the benefit from that Titans. So as I said, Darkflight tends to be strong early and mid game. It does fall off somewhat in the late game because you are losing one of your units. And by the late game, the value of getting like +1 item on 4 units, not actually that great. Everybody's board has like a million items by like the end of the game. So this is an early and mid game trait. It will fall off in the super late game because you don't really cap out your board as high as some of the other boards that run like other traits. All right, here I'm going to get a rod. I have no immediate use for that rod, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to figure out something with it down the road. It should be able to be used for some kind of Swain item. I'm also stuck here on 39 gold, but I don't actually want to sell anything. It's very sad. If you're wondering why the Kianas, my plan is to play Kiana together with the Rengar, and then look to have Kiana be the sacrificial unit. That was one thing that I had seen suggested. I'm no longer sure if that's the right option, to be perfectly honest. And that's largely because I think people have increasingly liked having like 2 actual assassin units on the board. Like if Rengar jumping in the backlines is good, having 2 units jump on the backlines is even better. And so I've seen some people sometimes playing, instead of Kiana, pairing Rengar with Neela. The reason why you play the Kiana is because she gives Tempest Straight when played with Graves. Graves is another Cannoneer to pair with Aphelios. So I've seen people sometimes just sacrificing Sejuani. I was somewhat hesitant to do that because I did have this 2-star Sejuani. Didn't really want to give up a 2-star unit, but that's another possibility as well. So that's just the reason why I'm stacking Kianas. I'm just kind of holding them for down the road. I also did go ahead and find an early Idis. I was like, well, I might as well play this Idis for a little bit of extra gold. The problem is I'm sacrificing the Idis, and that's a mistake. This is just an error that I made here. What I should have done is I should have put the Titan's Resolve on Leona and then made Leona into the sacrificial unit, and then I'd have Idis to play for frontline. But instead now I accidentally put the Titans on Idis, and then I was like, oh, if the Darkflight units want to get this, I'm going to have to sacrifice Idis. So then I'm actually giving up 2 slots on my board. Like I'm not only sacrificing a unit, I'm actually sacrificing 2 slots by doing that. So that was not really an ideal way to play this because like I'm paying the cost to have Idis on my board who eats up 2 slots, but then I don't even get the value of playing Idis. So I was like, ugh, that's not so good. I don't think that's the best option. But what can I say? I think this is like the first game that I ever tried to play Darkflight, so there are going to be some mistakes in there. It's PBE. We're trying to figure things out. By the way, here's another person who's playing Darkflight as well. They are level 5 0 gold, though, so I am kind of hoping that they'll die and get out of the lobby. They're on 76 HP. Which is not super low at this point in time, but I mean, level 5 0 gold means they're kind of a dead man walking. Unfortunately, they are taking some of the Darkflight units out of the pool, so they're contesting me. As I said, there's a number of people playing Mirage, so that's why I did not try to go down that road. But then someone contested me on Darkflight anyway, but I was like, oh well. I believe that they got an Infinity Edge for their extra unit, or I don't know. I'm not sure what item they tried to get, so yeah. There is a note there as my past self highlights this. Emblems and non-craftable items are turned into Darkflight Essence. So what that means is you can't just like you can't just like put some crazy emblem and get it on all your Darkflight units. You can't make like, I don't know, Radiant Bloodthirster or something and put it on all of your units, because that would just be insane. If you have an emblem or like a Radiant item or an item, it gets turned into Darkflight Essence, which just gives a bunch of stats in different categories. I think it's like 150 health, 15 AD, 15 AP, 15 armor, 15 magic resist. It's certainly not bad, but it tends to be better to get like an item you really want. So certainly not a bad option, but then you're sacrificing one of those like super powerful items, and you just get like an okay but not amazing benefit out of it. As far as what's going up in the double up portion of the game, I had managed to find a 2-star Silas, so I sent that over to Cymbal, and now he's going to be able to play that unit as well. Although I think he kept it on his bench to try to get preparation stacks. Cymbal was a little bit greedy in this game for the preparation stacks, sometimes playing a weaker unit just so he could get preparation stacks. I don't actually recommend doing that, but it is something he went for in this game. You might have noticed my board is falling off here, and that's because, remember, I don't really have any damage on my board right now. I've got a 1-star Aphelios who has like this Titans and this needlessly large gem that I stuck on him. So yeah, like a 1-star Aphelios is not going to carry. If you're playing Darkflight in earnest, you really want to have Rengar on your board at this point in time. So I'm losing round scale because I really don't have a carry. My front line's actually pretty decent, but I don't have a carry. And the sacrificing Idas thing is 100% a mistake. I knew it was a mistake in the game. As soon as I put the Titans on him, I was like, oh, this does not feel good. This feels pretty bad. So I know that I'm going to have to move out of this, and I believe that I look to do that pretty soon here. The needlessly large gem did make me a couple of extra gold, but like not a ton of extra gold. If there is anything that's good about this is I do get increased carousel priority. I actually get the second pick, because Cymbal is the one that's win streaking between the two of us. He has the stronger board at the moment. So I have my choice of almost anything that I wanted, and I decided that I would go ahead and try to make a frontline item to pair with this belt that I had. So I'm going to go ahead and make Warmogs because it's a pretty good item. It's a good item on Leona right now, but it's really a good item on Swain down the road. Because Swain, his ability scales off of max HP, if I remember correctly. I need to look this up because he's pretty new. Yes, his ability scales off max HP, so getting him more HP is inherently a good thing. Anyway, I decided I would move out of the Idas. I realized that this was a mistake, that sacrificing a dragon and giving up 2 board slots was not worth it. So I'm going to go ahead, I sell the Idas. I'm going to replace with a Lilia, so I get another ranking Cavalier. Remember, I do have Devastating Charge, so I do get extra damage on my Cavaliers. And I'm also going to then play a Rakan just to get that Guardian trait in play. Again, I would rather get another trait in play. I probably should have picked up Cannoneers. Like, there are some Sennas in the store. I could maybe look to play Cannoneer to enable Aphelios. But again, I just don't have much damage right now. I really need to find Rengar. Like, my board is quite tanky. That's not the problem. See how long my front line holds up? I just don't have any damage on my board right now. And we are up against one of the 2 players that's on the 91 HP, and they have been quite strong in this lobby. It seems pretty obvious already they're going to be our main competition in this game because they're the only other players who actually have kind of a strong setup. Well, I am going to find a Graves here, and that's quite nice, so I'll be happy to play the Graves. So let's put the Graves on the board, and I believe that I will now look to move out of the Rakan and put the sacrificial unit on the Kiana. So this will get Tempest trait in play, also puts Cannoneer trait in play. I do lose, what did I lose? I lose Guardian, but that's like whatever. Guardian's not very important. Leona is just holding items for Swain. So now I know that I'm going to have to roll a little bit here. I'm going to have to roll a little bit on 7 because I just am not hitting Darkflight units. I need to get stronger here. And I need to find Rengar at the bare minimum. I'd really like to find Swain as well, so I can try to get into a 6 Darkflight setup that's going to be vastly stronger. And I actually do have kind of the pieces for this right now. Like I said, I have the Titans, I have a Warmogs for Swain, and then I just need to find some items for Rengar and actually find Rengar. Once again, my board is really tanky. It holds it. This is again the 2 players that are kind of win streaking and are the strong ones in the lobby. Like my front line holds up forever in this fight. I just can't deal any damage. So that's my problem. I definitely need to roll and I need to get stronger. And I will look to see what I can find on 7 and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to look for Rengar. I'm going to look for Swain. I also have to note one other thing. See how Kiana is in my store? If I'm playing Kiana as my sacrificial unit, it actually does not do anything to 2-star her. Like, there's no reason to pick this up. If this is going to be my sacrificial unit, and I know that that's going to be the case long term, then 1-star is perfectly fine. There is no advantage whatsoever for trying to 2-star this. It just costs gold, and I would prefer not to eat up that gold if possible. All right, well, I do get an Infinity Edge, or a glove. I'm going to use that to make Infinity Edge. Now I need to roll, and there's a Rengar finally. So I will drop the Aphelios temporarily to put this Infinity Edge on Rengar. Much more important unit. And there's another Graves. There's another Rengar. and I managed to hit 2-star Rel, and now I would really like to find Swain. I do hit the 2-star Rengar, so I can stop here, and I believe Cymbal hit a Swain, which he's going to send me here, and I desperately want to get the Swain on my board. There we go. I'm going to manage to get the Swain, and now I picked up a belt during that minion round, and I can combine that with the Rod to make Morellos, which is a really good item on Swain. And so just like that, with very minimal effort and not a lot of rolling, I have hit 2-star Rengar, I have a Swain on my board, and I'm up to 5 Darkflight. And now if I can find another Aphelios, I can get up to 6 Darkflight. So whoa, this suddenly flipped around. Remember my board that couldn't kill anything? Yeah, now all of a sudden I'm quite strong. I'm actually in a genuinely good position here. So I'm up against one of the 2 players that's been win streaking, right? The team that's on 89 HP. And they've got this Zippy over there on their board. They're playing a vertical guild setup. And it's like, yeah, now I'm actually able to go over to Cymbal's board, and we're going to win that. And we're going to interrupt their win streak. So that's really good for us long term. And we're able to interrupt that win streak. As far as augments, I'm going to take Cybernetics. Again, just general value Cybernetics. There is some decent synergy between the Darkflight trait and the Cybernetics augments. Cybernetics gives you additional health and one other benefit, depends on which one it is, either armor or physical damage or mono regen, depending on which one it is. And you get that for any unit that has an item. Well, guess what Darkflight does? It gives all your units items for free. So yeah, there's definitely synergy there between Cybernetics trait and getting free items out of Darkflight. So now that I've hit these units, I feel like my board is quite strong, and I'm going to try to just get up to level 8, where I will try to find Aphelios, and that way I can get 6 Darkflight in, which is a pretty big spike as far as the strength of my board. The numbers are very much still in flux. But it looks like the health goes up from, I think it goes up from 800 to 1100 for Darkflight 6. And that's all it does, though. It just gives you more additional health. And of course, the units, by putting in Aphelios will get that Titans for free as well. So while we have a minute here, like I said, I'm not really going to be fiddling with my board for the moment, because I'm just going to go to level 8 and then roll on level 8 to try to find Aphelios and 2-star the remainder of my board. Let me take a minute to discuss how the abilities work on some of these new units. And we can start with Rengar, because he's normally the main carry throughout the early and mid game in a Darkflight board. All right, so Rengar is an assassin, 2 traits, Darkflight assassin. So of course he's going to jump into the back lines at the start of each fight. His trait is called Unseen Predator. There's a passive function. Whenever Rengar kills an enemy, he roars and permanently gains a stack of Bone Tooth Necklace, up to 20. Each stack, it causes him to ignore 1 armor. So he like stacks up some armor shred, but it only goes from ignoring no armor to ignoring 20, so it's not that big of a benefit. His ability then, when his monobar fills up, Rengar leaps to the lowest armor enemy, deals physical damage, and gains attack speed. So basically, he gets a huge attack speed boost for like 2 seconds, and then he deals a percentage of his physical damage to the target. So the really interesting thing about Rengar is the way his targeting works. His targeting is he goes after the lowest armor enemy when his ability fills up, which is super annoying in some ways, because it can be very difficult to protect your units in fights against Rengar. You can be positioned in the corner and he could be off hitting a tank, and then when his monobar fills up, suddenly he'll dash across the board and suddenly he's hitting one of your, squishy units in the corner, like your Lux or, your Alshin or something like that. So he tends to go after the enemy carries in a way that's pretty difficult to position around. So he can be a very dangerous unit in his own right for that reason. When the PBE server first came out for set 7.5, Rengar was absurdly overtuned. And he was just like one-shotting units everywhere. And it was impossible to keep anything safe. So they nerfed him pretty hard. He's honestly reasonably balanced at the moment. It's basically like when Darkflight trait is strong, he's a strong unit. And when Darkflight's not, he's not the strongest unit. I went ahead and took a sword off the carousel, which I'm going to put on Rengar. I would like to find a Bloodthirster for his last item. So I'm hoping I can get a cloak or something to put on him. Of course, he's going to get the Titans as well. For the moment, I'm going to go ahead and stuff this other Graves on my board. Obviously, I want to try to find an Aphelios, but my plan was to slow roll a little bit here at level 8 and see if I could 2-star my board and also see if I can 3-star Rengar. Cymbal is collecting Rengars for me. He just made a 2-star Rengar. It just popped up on the interface. So he's going to send me a 2-star Rengar. and then I would only have to find 3 more. In a double up game like this, I definitely should be able to find 3-star Rengar. And then that's kind of like the win condition is 3-star Rengar, and then just play through that and play through Swain, who is like my other big carry unit. I have been on a nice little win streak ever since I hit my, ever since I kind of made my board here at the start of stage 4. Unfortunately, I'm up against both of the top teams here, and there's no way that Swain can beat both of them. I might be able to beat one of those boards. Rengar unfortunately died before he was able to kill their dragon in the corner, the Somme. So I wasn't quite able to kill that, but the hope is that the hope is that I'll be able to get a 3-star Rengar, and then that'll make the difference there. That other team has been very strong throughout the whole game. They actually had platinum borders here on the PBE server for double up. For those who are unfamiliar, the PBE server has its own like rating system. So to play enough double up games on PBE to hit platinum, you actually have to have played quite a lot of games. The matchmaking on PBE is pretty hilarious, though. There's like nothing in terms of the matchmaking. So there were some games we played, like the one I put on YouTube like a day or two ago, where I was playing Astral, where like we were up against people who very clearly had little to no experience playing teamfight tactics, and then we have games like this where the players are like literally running dozens of games of double up on the PBE, which is like a very serious level of dedication. So you kind of get people who are all over the place. Anyway, once again, I'm up against the 2 teams that are strong, the ones that are on 80 HP. And it's like, I think I could probably beat one of their boards. I'm pretty confident I would have won this round. But of course, their partner comes over, and it's going to be very tough. It's very difficult to beat 2 boards at once. I'm grabbing some Sommes from my bench because I know that that's a unit that Cymbal is trying to play, so I'm trying to help him make that. He actually ends up it's a double loss against one of the other boards, which is hilarious. Always amusing when that happens. This time we're going to get an Order Treasure Dragon, and I was like, I kind of don't want an Order Treasure Dragon. When you're playing a Darkflight board, again, this board does not cap out super high, so you kind of want a lower level of power in the game. There's actually a Warmogs here. I was like, that would be really nice on Swain. And there actually is an item remover, but that's not quite what I'm looking for here. So I was like, all right, I guess I can take this. I don't really have a great place to put this overall. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to put the Titan's Vow on Graves, who's going to become like my secondary alternate carry. Graves with a Radiant Titan should carry reasonably hard here. And then I'm going to reforge this leftover component, and I was like, okay. I actually am going to get exactly what I was looking for there, so that's nice. I could have made use of a lot of different things. Oh, and by the way, I'm rolling, and then I get caught by the round transition, the stupid Treasure Dragon stuff that's still really weird. So I'm going to keep rolling here. Again, I'm looking for 3-star Rengar. I do hit 2-star Graves. I really want an Aphelios so I can get Darkflight 6 in. So for right now, I'm just going to play 2 Rengars. And I don't want to drop below 50 because I'm trying to slow roll here. And oh, there we go. There's an Aphelios. So now we're going to get the Cannoneer trait in for Graves, and we're going to get the 6 Darkflight in, so that's quite nice. And I'm looking for Swain, and I'm looking for Rengar 3-star. All right, I've talked a fair bit about Swain. I have not covered his actual ability, so let me do that right now. Swain basically has his abilities from set, I think it was set 4.5, the second half of the set that had the chosen units in it. He was added in the second half of the set. Basically the same ability back again. His traits are Dragon and Darkflight, gives you 3 ranks of the Darkflight trait, eats up 2 slots. He's basically a 4-cost tier unit, costs 7 gold, but he's basically at the 4-cost tier. His ability is Dragon Master's Decree. Swain releases his flock, launching 8 Dragonlings toward nearby enemies. They each deal magic damage to their target, then return to Swain and heal him for 12% of his missing health. So as I said, he's basically an AP carry that kind of like it's a drain tank. The idea is he's a frontliner, he stands up there, he's super tanky, and then he like lifesteals through the fights by sending out his Raven flock. So he is, as I said, because his Ravens scale off percentage of max HP. And by the way, here I got a Swain, Cymbal sent me a Swain, but I was not able to grab it before the fight started, which is a little bit unfortunate. I'm actually up against the other Dragonflight player right now who has 3-star Aphelios, but Rengar is kind of right on that Aphelios' space. This person did not build their board particularly well. I'm actually going to win this really easily, and I think I knocked them out of the lobby. Yeah, so they're just out of the lobby right now. And that's good because it's going to put those units back into the pool. So that means I have more better odds to go ahead and find like the Rengar 3-star. So Cymbal sends me another Swain. I believe that I asked for him to send me this Swain, but then there's another one in the store. So it was like, oh, Ooh, we just wasted our send there, didn't we? And we probably should not have looked to do that. We probably should have been a little bit more patient there. Probably could have taken our time and looked at it. We could maybe tried to use it for like Graves 3-star or something like that. So I am going to hit the Rengar 3-star. So right now my board is about as strong as it's going to get in this game. I have the 3-star Rengar, I have the 2-star Swain, I have 2-star Graves. Like, my board just doesn't get that much stronger than this, just due to the nature of how Darkflight works. There are no Darkflight units at the 5-cost tier. Like, there's no, it's not like there's a Yasuo there at the end of the rainbow that you can play into. There's no legendary dragon. Swain is, as I mentioned, at the 4-cost tier, not the 5-cost tier. So this trait is going to be, I'm going to be very, very strong right now. But if this game goes super long, my board is going to fall off in the end. It's just kind of the way it works. Still, Rengar with these items as a 3-star unit, I mean, he's going to be popping people right now. I'm going to read the official numbers here. These will probably be outdated because it's PBE. Right now it says as a 3-star unit, he gets 100 bonus damage and 290% of his attack damage when he uses his ability. Although they've tweaked his numbers a lot, so even the cheat sheet I'm looking at is probably not correct. This actually turned out to be a super crucial carousel. I really, really want to get that assassin emblem. That's so important for me, but oh, it gets sniped, and oh, the Cavalier emblem gets sniped too. Oh, why couldn't that team on 1 HP have died? Why couldn't that team on 1 HP have been dead? The Assassin Emblem would be unbelievably valuable for me. It would let me put the Assassin Emblem on Graves for 3 Assassins, and then I could play Neela for 4 Assassins at level 9. That would have helped my board so much, because it's a huge jump to go from 2 Assassins up to 4 Assassins. The numbers right now, it goes from 20% crit chance to 40% crit chance, and then increases the crit damage from 10% to 25%. So it's a big increase. And then I'd also have Graves jumping on the back lines as well. But they wanted ahead and took that for their board because they were playing a Lagoon board and they were playing Neela, and they wanted an Assassin to pair with it. So it was super sad that I wasn't able to get that. I'm going to take the Hand of Justice for Graves, which is a good item on Graves, but that's disappointing. Also, I end up getting Zephyred here. Oh, they have a Radiant Zephyr. That's what that was. I was wondering where that was coming from. But yeah, with Radiant Zephyr on their side, that's going to make it tough to win this fight. That's just me not scouting well enough. I should have seen that they had a Radiant Zephyr and been able to reposition, because I'm pretty sure I beat this person if I don't have Rengar get Radiant Zephyred. And that team was on like 1 HP, so we probably could have knocked them out of the lobby with a win there. That's pretty disappointing. Anyway, I'm going to send this over to Cymbal, and so he's going to make a 3-star Silas in his board. He has very good Sohm items over there. He now needs to finish, and he's got the 3-star Silas. Now he needs to finish building out the rest of his comp from there. As far as the 2 teams that actually have a lot of health, one of them is running an 8-guild setup, so that's a vertical guild. They have made 3-star Zippy, and the other one is running a board that has Namzi on it. They have a 3-star Namzi, so they've actually hit a lot of these units that are at the 3-cost tier. Like they've basically been re-rolling for 3. Oh no, never mind. This is not one of the people that has a lot of health. This is one of the boards that's almost dead. They've got the 3-star Namzi. So yeah, a lot of the units at the 3-cost tier are taken out of the pool because so much re-rolling for units at this particular cost tier. Anyway, Rengar is doing his best. Can he get on the Namzi and kill this thing? Swain, I need you to keep tanking. How much health does Rengar actually have? It's pretty hard to see. So it's like, can Swain win this fight? Looks like the answer is yes, and that's going to knock this player out. So even though they had 3-star Namzi, it's going to get knocked out of the game. Anyway, we are way behind in health, so we have a lot of work to do if we're going to catch up to this team. It is down to just the 2 of us now, our team and the team that's been strong throughout the game. I decide that I'm going to look to go to level 9 here, and in retrospect, this I think was a mistake. My board does not get stronger by going to level 9. There's really no unit that this Darkflight comp can play that's going to make me stronger. What am I going to put in here? It's like, what unit makes my board stronger here? Like, I could put in a random Yasuo, but like none of his traits would fit. I could put in Bard, none of his traits are going to fit. I guess I could try to play another dragon, and maybe that would have been an option as well. But like, there's no obvious dragon for me to play into. Like, maybe if I just hit like a random Shyvana or Al Shin or something, but like, I don't really have items to play these units. So like, I'm going to level 9, but I don't think this is the right call. I think the correct call is to stay at level 8 and see if I can 3-star the Graves. I believe we still have a send on Cymbal, so I think we could potentially look to just, go for Graves, and then like if I can get 3-star Graves, that's a win condition as well. Speaking of Graves, I should cover what his ability actually does, because I don't think I've covered him in one of these videos so far here on the PBE. So he is a Cannoneer. His abilities are Tempest plus Cannoneer. And in fact, maybe I should have looked to play into Al Shin. Maybe I could have gone to 9 and played Al Shin to get 4 Tempest in. That actually might have been decent. Anyway, so he's Cannoneer Tempest. Ability is Quick Draw. Passive, Graves attacks spread in a cone of 4 bullets in front of him, each striking the first enemy hit for 100% of his attack damage. Active, Graves dashes towards his target, quickly fires 2 attacks, grants himself armor and magic resist for 4 seconds. He gets extra armor and MR as he levels up, and of course he also gets more base stats for leveling up. So he is a short range unit. He is a unit that is going to quick draw into the combat, charge towards the other side, and he often puts himself in a lot of danger in these fights. So you really do need items that are going to make him... You kind of itemize him like a melee AD, even though he's not a melee AD carry. So like the Titans on him is pretty good, Hand of Justice, Bloodthirster. You can, of course, also stack additional damage with like Infinity Edge, that sort of thing. So in any case, we have gotten to the rounds where you give your partner an item. We were able to win the last round here. Now I'm looking for stuff to fit on my board, and once again, I'm like, I don't really have a lot of stuff I'm looking for. It's like, is it Nunu? That gives me 3 Cavaliers. Like, is that really good? Not really. Again, it probably would be better to grab that Al Shin and maybe just toss that in. Maybe just start trying to find items for Al Shin. I could take out the Sejuani and play. Take out the Nunu and the Sejuani and play that. I would lose Cavalier trait, but I mean, at this stage of the game, that's like whatever. Unfortunately, my Devastating Charge augment is not getting a lot of value at this stage of the game, but there's not a lot that I can do about that right now. So I'm up against the guild board in this particular fight, and really it's just the 3-star Zippy dashing around, causing all kinds of problems. This person also has an interesting augment. They have the one that gives you the more powerful aura items, and they have a whole bunch of lockets on their front line. So they have like multiple lockets, including a radiant locket, which is really good for them. So it's like I've basically killed everything except the 3-star Zippy, and I think I would have lost that round, but fortunately Cymbal won the other round. And so he's now going to come over, and look at this. We've managed to equal up kind of the health scoreboard there. So that's pretty nice. But I'm still trying to figure out what my last unit in can be. And here I'm going to get an item from Cymbal, and I decided I'm going to take the Shroud out of the 3 options I had. Definitely seems like the best option I can get. So yeah, I'm rolling here, but it's like I mean, like Terra, I could try to pick that up, but like Terra's a frontline unit. It's not really going to do anything. I have plenty of frontline. Like, that's not a problem. What I really need is more damage. My damage was good for the mid game, but it is actually starting to fall apart a little bit here. And then I was like, do I want to play this Bard? I mean, I guess so. But, like, again, Bard doesn't really make a lot of traits either. I guess he puts 2 ranks of the guild trait in play. He doesn't even make Mystic because I have no other Mystics on my board. So Bard just not really doing a whole lot. As I said, I think staying at level 8, slow rolling at level 8, trying to hit Graves 3-star probably would have been a better option right here, because Graves 3-star just gets, an insane amount of stats, and I probably really could have used that unit to help get me over the top in these fights. I think that would have been more valuable than going to level 9 and like not really doing a whole lot at level 9. But anyway, still, we are winning these fights. Like, it looks like I'm going to win this one. I mean, these fights are close. I need Rengar to hold on a little bit longer, but like Graves and Rengar do end up carrying that fight. And Swain is still super duper tanky. So we're actually going to knock them down to 20 HP. And like, I won 1 round and Cymbal lost the other round. So like, that was super close. And we're really in a tight race here as far as what each of us has here. Now, there's not really anything that I want on this carousel, which is unfortunate. I'm just going to go ahead and take the Zerat portal for lack of other options. The person playing Lagoon on the other side, there's actually a Lagoon emblem, and they don't even want it because they already have their board all capped out with Lagoon units. So, yep, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just put this on another frontliner or put this on the Sedge. So, yeah, but again, I just don't think this board is that strong. If I was going to do something else, I really probably should have looked to get one of these 5-cost legendary dragons in there, but better yet, probably would have been staying at level 8 and trying to 3-star Graves. All right, so here I decided I'm going to move out of the Sejuani. I was like, it's probably just better to play Hecarim, honestly. Hecarim's just so much better of a unit than Sejuani. Even as a 1-star, it's probably better. And I should be able to find the 2-star version of that unit. All right, I am going to get off a good Shroud here. We're going to hit the Zippy and hit the Bard in the back lines. I need Rengar to get over to the Xayah and delete her. So, look, there's the jump. Going to just jump right over to Xayah because she has the lowest armor on the enemy team. And I'm hoping he will kill her before he jumps away, which he does. And with the Xayah dead, it's really just the Zippy flip-flopping around there. The fact that this person has a Sunfire Cape is actually kind of bad because it's cutting into the healing that Swain provides. Now I'm cutting into any healing they might have because I've got that Morello's on Swain, and Swain is a very good applier of Morello's. But it's still not going to be quite enough. Oh, well, I was able to beat the initial board, and now someone's coming over from Cymbal's board. So once again, we're going to go 1 for 1. I was able to win a round, and someone on their team was able to win a round. So super duper close there. I really wish as well that I could have gotten that Cavalier emblem and stuck it on Yasuo. That would have actually made my board a lot stronger as well, and would have given me yet another threat that I kind of needed on this board. Like, imagine if instead of that 1-star Bard, I had like 2-star Yasuo with a Cav emblem and then like one other item, because instead of taking the Zerat portal, I could have taken, I think, like a Bloodthirster. That would actually be really good, but unfortunately, no, wasn't able to get that Cavalier emblem, wasn't able to get that Assassin emblem. Could have had Assassin Graves jumping into the back lines on the enemy team as well, and then 4 Assassin in with like Neela or Diana or something. So anyway, now I'm up against the Lagoon player between the two. And I do need to point out that this game has gone on so long that the Lagoon player has stacked up an awful lot of stacks. They're actually getting very close to 500 stacks on Lagoon. And when you get to 500 stacks on Lagoon, you actually get an additional +1 unit on your side. You get the Force of Nature / Tactician's Crowd. So I was like, oh, I actually lost this round, and I've been beating that person. And then over on the other side, Cymbal is going to win against their partner. So we're going to trade 1 for 1 again, with this time me losing and Cymbal winning. And so both of our teams are going to be down to single-digit HP. It's actually turned into a really, really close game here between the two sides. But I'm not feeling great about my position in the game. I do feel like my board's just starting to fall off here, because I think that the other team is just outscaling me. I was saying that kind of throughout this video, that Darkflight is an early to mid-game trait. It just gets outscaled in the late game, does not have any legendary units, and I have not done a good enough job of building the late game board here. As I said, really would have been nice to move into Cavalier Yasuo, would have been nice to move into 4 Assassins, but it was not able to get those. My augments also are not amazing for the late game. I'm not really getting value out of Devastating Charge, and I have not been able to 3-star like the Graves or the Swain, which would have been nice options to have. Okay, so I'm going to roll here, but like I'm not really getting a whole lot. I'm finding a billion Yasuos, so again, it's really sad I wasn't able to play Yasuo. Would that have been better than playing the Bard? Maybe, but I actually have gotten decent value out of the Bard, even though Bard is on even though the Bard has like no particular traits in play. Definitely would have been better to play 2-star Yasuo than 1-star Bard. So I really should have probably just grabbed Yasuos and tossed him in there. So now I'm up against the guild player, and unfortunately, I did not reposition my Shroud. This person moved at the last second to get their Xayah away from the potential Shroud, but the Shroud should have been on the other side. And up to this point in time, Rengar's done a really good job of killing Xayah in these fights, so I need him to kill that. He is going to take out Xayah, but up on the front lines, I'm struggling a little bit. Swain is still alive, but the guild, all those stats from Guild 8, it's just making it harder and harder to compete. Also, I have to spend a tremendous amount of time cutting through the Locket shields in these fights. And like, I might be able to win this, but their partner's coming over, and I was like, yeah, not going to beat both teams. So unfortunately, it just looks like these boards are outscaled. So I've tried to go through and talk about some of the things I could have done differently throughout this game. Like if I had 3-star Graves right now, that would obviously make a difference. I have seen some Graves as well. I think I got up to like 5 Graves at one point, but ultimately I'm not going to hit the 3-star. So maybe if I'd hit that, it would have made a difference. But ultimately now this other board is just too strong. They have 2-star Bard, 2-star Neela, 2-star Yasuo. They really should move their Assassin emblem over to Yasuo over on that other team. And they've got the +1 Force of Nature. So they're actually playing 9 units, including a dragon. So it's really like they have 10 units on the board. Whereas I'm losing a unit in every fight due to the Darkflight trait, which again is great in the early game, good in the mid game, not so great in the late game. Getting the value of +1 item is actually not that great right around now. So Rengar's trying to do his best, trying to get on that Sohm, but he just cannot get onto that unit. And I'm not able to punch through. And so that's going to be the end of this particular one. So yeah, no miracle finish out of the hat here. Ultimately, our boards got outscaled. And even though Cymbal was strong, Cymbal, of course, could not beat 2 full boards at the end either. Turns out that if you allow a Lagoon player to get up to like 600 Lagoon stacks, they actually have so many so many free items and components and extra gold and champion duplicators and force of natures. If they get that many stacks, it's kind of tough to compete with them. So we just got outscaled in this game, and that is one of the weaknesses of Darkflight Straight. Still, I was really happy with this game overall. I think this was a pretty good showcase for how Darkflight trait works. And like I said, we were really close to winning this game. If we had been able to win like one more round in the mid game, we actually would have eliminated them before they managed to finish scaling up and put their late game boards together. So this should be a fun trait for the set. I think it may cause some balance problems, but I like the design and it should be fun to play around with. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this one. Until next time, take care, folks.